Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Colin with H&K Land Solutions, and I am bringing to you today another review video. This time this is going to be on the Case DL550, the Case Minotaur. This is a very new machine to the market, and not many people have their hands on this machine. Number one, you know, they are expensive. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not expensive. A lot of people are waiting to see how these machines do on the market, to see how they're holding up, how they're performing. So I know a lot of people are kind of holding off on them at the moment, and then also there's not very many readily available. So I'm here today to do a review video to show you kind of the ins and outs of the Case Minotaur, what I've liked about it so far, what I don't like about it so far. And you know, there's not many videos out there on the internet giving you an overall view on this machine. So that's what I'm going to try to do for you today. We're going to go step by step of what we like, don't like. We're going to compare this to a few other machines. We're going to compare this to a few other machines that look nothing like this. So a little bit of background on this machine. The Case Minotaur, Case has almost redefined or created a new species of equipment, so to say. So the platform on this machine is built off of Case's the 620B skid steer. So they basically took the frame and the appearance of the Case 620B and took parts and components and technology off of their brand new bulldozer series and installed that onto what is now the Case Minotaur. So this machine is actually classified as a compact dozer. It is not a skid steer and it is not a bulldozer. Case has named this a compact dozer. So I'm going to go through a couple scenarios of how this thing performs great as a bulldozer and how it performs great as a skid steer. And I'll kind of show you what I like and don't like about each different application. There's a lot that we're going to touch on. I'm going to try to cover some specs, compare this against other skid steers, other dozers. Don't quote me on any of the specs. I'm going to do this all off of memory, so stick with me. Fact check me. Let me know in the comments whether I'm right or wrong. So this is by no means a 100% accurate video. This is all off my memory, and this is all off my opinion and the just the seat time that I have in this machine. So to get started, I believe I have right at, I think, 260 hours in this machine. As you can see, we've got the gyro track mulching head on it, and honestly probably 80% of the hours that I put on this machine are running that attachment. Right now, mulching is a huge thing here in South Alabama. Number one, it's efficient. It's an efficient way of land clearing. I don't typically classify it as land clearing. It's more of erosion control, invasive species control. It is a good way to open up a piece of property if you're unsure of what you're doing with the property. I would by no means mulch anywhere that I'm going to put a house or any kind of structure. That is not what that is for. Anyway, so about 80% of my hours are running behind the mulching head. So I'll be able to touch on that very heavily and compare it against other machines running the mulcher. And then the other 20% of the hours on this machine are running the dozer blade. And we can step over and look at the dozer blade here in a minute and go through a couple of the key features on the dozer blade. But for now, I want to give my likes and dislikes on the Minotaur, and then I would like to step inside, show you guys some of the inside of the machine, some good things and bad things that Case has done on the inside, and then I'm going to go, we'll take a look at the dozer blade. Alright guys, let's see, to start off with, I'm going to touch a little bit So I'm gonna go over what I like about this machine, and along the way I'll probably touch on a few things I don't like, and I'm also going to be making a lot of comparisons to the Kubota SVL97-2, primarily because that is the machine I traded in on the Minotaur. So I have a lot of experience running the Kubota. You know, this machine right here is kind of way out of the league compared to the Kubota, but I'm still going to reference that machine a lot. So anyway, so first thing on the Case Minotaur that I like, and that is very very impressive, is the power output on this machine. I believe this machine puts out 114 horsepower is what it's spec'd at, but that is when it is in skid steer controls. Whenever you hit the toggle switch to move this to dozer controls, I believe it reduces the machine down to 80% max power. So what that does is it slows the machine down, and it gives you the ability to perform, you know, more precise grading. You keep the same amount of torque, but the horsepower is reduced to 80% output. Anyway, so the power on this machine is great. I have had no occasions where I'm wishing I had more power. There's actually several times that I wish I had less power. And for example, running this mulching head, you see that there's a little bit of room where the end of the mulching head, where the float overlaps the end of the track. So what happens is, when I'm mulching and when I go to back drag, I've had several times where I get a tree kind of wedged between the float on the mulching head and the tracks. And what happens is, you know, I'm in reverse backing up, you know, looking behind me, and that tree, I've pulled several trees down on top of me, and then I've hung several big trees that almost flexed the arms on the machine and basically pulled the back end of the machine off the ground. So this machine, the power output paired with the single grouser tracks is very disruptive, or destructive. So there are occasions where that could come back to bite you. The power plus the just the force that these single grouser tracks pull with, there's not much that's going to stop this machine. So if you get yourself in a bind, it could either hurt you or help you, depending on the situation. But that kind of leads me into my next like about this machine, is the steel tracks. As you know, most conventional skid steers have a rubber track instead of steel tracks. So the Kubota that I had, I traded that machine in with, I believe, 400 hours, and basically 400 of those hours were mulching, and the rubber tracks were at the point where I was probably going to have to replace them in another 300-400 hours. The mulching, the environment that you mulch in, definitely wears out the rubber tracks so fast. So with the steel tracks, I'm expecting to get around, I don't know, probably 4,000 or 5,000 hours out of these tracks. That is kind of the typical lifespan out of you know, the tracks on a bulldozer or an excavator. So I'm kind of basing it off that. So I do a lot of mulching work behind logging crews, so there's stumps all over the place. You know, there's treetops and thrash, as they call it, all over the place. So having the steel tracks and the durability of the steel tracks really benefits my kind of work that I do. And then the other work, you know, the 20% that I run this machine is behind the dozer blade. And, you know, pushing dirt, you want all the ground pressure and pushing power that you can get. So I don't believe the rubber track version of the Minotaur would be suitable for what the kind of work I do. So I'll definitely be sticking with the metal tracks. Now the Minotaur is offered in 3 different versions of the tracks. You've got the single grousers that you see here. They've also got a wider based triple grouser track, much like you see on the excavator. And then, like I said, they do offer a rubber track version. The rubber tracks, I will say, I have seen a machine with the rubber tracks, and the rubber on those is way more durable and so much thicker than the average skid steer rubber track. So that is, they have a very impressive rubber track system to go on these, but then again, still, I really do prefer the steel track design. All right, next thing I want to touch on is the hydraulic flow on this machine. At 100% throttle, let's see, enhanced high flow, this machine is pumping out a 43 gallons per minute. I think it's 42, which is very impressive for a skid steer. The ASV skid steers are kind of your skid steers that are, you know, high up on the podium for mulching. I think the new ASV 135s, the brand new ones, I think they increased the pump output on those to 50 gallons per minute. I think they used to be right at 45, 47 gallons per minute. So the Case Minotaur is right there with kind of the 2023 and previous models of the ASV as far as pump flow and mulching efficiency. So I think Case has got a little bit of work left to do with ASV bumping up that flow rate to 50 gallons per minute. So anyway, I'm still very impressed with this machine, and I've got plenty of mulching videos to go for you guys to go back and watch. Very impressive. So talk about the weight of the machine. So this machine weighs right at 20,000 pounds. I think it's 19,000 and some change. And yes, that 20,000 weight class comes with the steel tracks, and it has the rippers on the back. So yes, it does have rippers just like a bulldozer. We'll touch more on those in a minute. So yeah, right at 20,000 pounds. It is a very dense machine. There is a lot packed in underneath the hood on the back. Like we talked about, the steel tracks are very heavy. The undercarriage, don't quote me on this, but I think Case actually took the final drives and the rollers off of their Case 650M series and put them directly onto the Case Minotaur. So I believe they have the same part number as the bulldozers, which is super awesome. That just shows the durability and the engineering that this machine was built with. So yeah, the weight, it is a heavy machine. Let's see, we talked about the steel tracks. Visibility out of this machine. Whenever I get over to the dozer blade, I'll touch on it a little bit, but visibility running the mulcher is by far one of the best machines I've sat in. Let's see, looking out of the side windows, when you're mulching, you can't tell from here, but you can actually look out of that side window and see the back side of your track. I know you probably don't believe me, but hopefully I'll be able to sit inside the cab, turn the camera, and show you guys. But visibility out of the front, out of the sides is great. I have no issues there. Visibility out of the back, that's kind of a different story. There's kind of a lot going on back here. Good thing it has a good camera. So visibility out of the rear windshield with your rear view mirror is pretty useless. All right, while we are kind of touching on the back side of the machine, let's go ahead and talk about these rippers. So Case has put a ripper system onto the back of the Case Minotaur. Let's see, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 5 positions or 5 slots for your rippers. This one comes with 3. So yeah, the rippers on the Minotaur, that comes with 3 rippers. I've got the middle ripper out. Actually had the pin fall out of it somehow. I guess a stick might have got the pin, kind of knocked it out, knocked the service clip out with it. Anyway, I've got it in the truck. So I have personally never used the rippers. Like I said, I've done about 80% mulching with this machine, and you don't need the rippers to mulch. But I do use the ripper as a rear bumper. It works fantastic as a rear bumper. As you can see, anything you back into, you're about 2 feet away from the back side of the machine. So I've probably used this as a bumper more times than I would like to say. But anyway, so that is the rippers. One thing I do like though, that case is integrated. So when you get in the machine, you go to the truck to get fuel. The fuel cell is actually, you've got to open up this back hatch, and it is kind of right up here underneath this cover. So to get to it, you've got to have your rippers down. So a lot of times you pull up to the truck, shut the machine off, and you forget to lower the rippers. But luckily in the battery box here, case has actually got a pull lever that you can pull, and it'll release the hydraulic pressure on those 2 cylinders. And then you can pop your lid, open up your door, and get right to the fuel tank. So that is a very handy feature on this machine, being able to let down those hydraulics on the ripper. If not, I'd be wasting a lot of time getting back into the machine, firing it up, and then dropping releasing the hydraulics on the rippers that way. But overall, I love that feature. All right, so while we got the back of the machine open, I want to touch briefly on serviceability on this machine. As you can see, this is your hydraulic oil fill. You've got your hydraulic oil gauge there in the back. You can see it very easily. Your DEF fuel tank there. You've got your fuel water separator. Like I mentioned, the fuel cell is here. The other fuel filters here. Your air box, your air filter is very easy to get to. Checking your engine oil, coolant reservoir, oil fill. For the most part, this machine is pretty accessible. You can get to a lot of the motor without having to remove any major components, so that's definitely a plus. To get to the oil filter, you've got to open up, or you've got to remove 2 bolts on the back side of the cab. And then this cab basically flips and rolls straight up. You can easily do it with 1 person. It's got little hydraulic valves on it to assist with the opening and closing, so it is very easy to remove that cab. Let's touch on one of my dislikes since owning this machine. So the fan on the back is hydraulic driven. It does a very good job at cooling this machine down, even in the 100-degree South Alabama weather. I have never once seen this machine begin to even attempt to overheat on the cooling system when the fan is intact. So this cooling fan here, this is my 4th fan, I believe. The case actually had a recall on this fan. Basically the early version of this fan was disintegrating by itself, almost blowing up all of a sudden. So that fan, the fins on it would blow up. You wouldn't ever know it. You couldn't hear it inside the cab, especially not running the mulcher. And within about 15 to 30 seconds, this machine would overheat in a heartbeat. So another big topic I want to touch on is the build quality of this machine. For instance, take a look at the lift arms on this machine compared to my hand. I mean, that is huge. That is about 2.5 of the length of my hands. I mean, that section is huge. And then the middle of your arms, same way, about 1.5 hands. Yeah, it's not a great way to measure that, but it's what I have at the moment. But just the structural integrity of these arms, so impressive. I have never seen a skid steer with loader arms of this size. Also, the size of the cylinders, ginormous. It's got big cylinders here, same size cylinders for your tilt. So overall, just the build quality, basically the heavy dutiness of this machine is incredible. Case definitely, I'm not going to say they overbuilt this machine. I don't believe in overbuilding a machine, especially for forestry mulching. But overall, this machine is massive. Everything is heavy duty, everything is big, everything's bulky. It is definitely built to last. Even the undercarriage on this machine, these, like I said earlier, these the undercarriage is straight off of their bulldozer series. So if they run it on their bulldozers, you know, it should be heavy duty on a skid steer. So all right, so that is basically it on the outside of the machine, I think. Let's see, I also want to touch on the lights on this machine. So this case has LED cube lights on the front. So you've got 4 lights on the front, and I think it's 2 on the back. Yep, you've got 2 on the back. They kind of shine back at an angle. Nighttime visibility out of this machine is incredible. It definitely lights up the area around you. I mean, there's been several times that I've done mulching at night with this machine, and really it's no issue at all. As long as you're in a pretty open environment, not working next to a house or anything of that nature, there are no issues working at night with this machine. Also, one other thing I love about this machine and all case equipment is this sticker on the back. That means a lot. It's hard to put a price tag on that, as well as your certification stamp. So each case machine is undergone by a quality team before it leaves the plant, and they basically do a full quality inspection. And I don't know if these are engineers or some kind of quality technician, but each machine is signed off on with somebody's signature stating that this machine has been reviewed from front to back and that there are no quality defects or issues with the machine. So the Kubota that I had, there were several different parts of that machine that when I bought it brand new, that were either loose, wrong, or backwards on that machine. For instance, every single quick coupler was loose on the Kubota. First time I ever started mulching with it, I had hydraulic oil spraying everywhere. That is not something you want on a new machine. So anyway, on the Kubota, the male and female high flow couplers were backwards. So I had to, once again, brand new machine, had to take the couplers off, flip those around, put them back on, and then it was good to go. But still, a brand new machine, you shouldn't ever have that issue. And there were a few other nuts and bolts and miscellaneous things that were overlooked on that machine by the factory. So overall quality after purchase on the Minotaur is top notch. All right, so before I get into the details on the inside of the cab, I want to take a second and talk with you guys about kind of the comparison between the Case Minotaur and, for example, let's talk about the Cat D3 Dozier. I think that's probably the most popular brand to compare this machine with too. So the Cat D3 Dozier, I believe the LGP version weighs in at 21,000 pounds, and that is with a I think a 26-inch track on the LGP. So tit for tat on the weight, you know, the Cat machine's got it beat by roughly 1,000 pounds. It depends on what track system the Cat's running and, you know, that kind of thing. But as far as weight, this relatively small machine, compact skid steer, is on par with a Cat D3 Dozier, which is pretty impressive to me. The drawbar pull on this machine is just over 25,000 pounds, and don't quote me on specs, but I believe that is tit for tat with the Cat D3. Travel speed is the same as the Cat. Really every single statistic that you can go and look at comparing the Case Minotaur and the Cat D3 Dozier, as far as Dozier specs, are right there together. So this machine with the Dozier blade, it is very impressive. I'm almost more impressed with this machine running the Dozier blade than I am any other attachment, including the mulching head. So Dozier work, fantastic. Let's see, we've already kind of compared this to other skid steers, so I think I've touched on everything between dislikes and likes on the exterior of the machine. We've compared other skid steers. We've compared it to you know, a full-size bulldozer. So let's go and open up the cab, take a look inside there, see what we can find. So one thing I've been very impressed on with this machine, and especially compared to the Kubota that I had, was the cab itself and keeping dust and material out. This is a one-piece pressurized cab. One piece meaning that whenever you lift this cab up, the floorboard does come with it. Unlike a couple of other brands, I think John Deere and Kubota are both a two-piece cab. I think, once again, don't quote me on that. But yes, the retaining the dust outside is fantastic. The seals on the door are great. The seals that go around the bottom of the cab are great. Seals going up around the back of the cab. So as far as seal quality, it is no issues there. So getting into the cab, first thing you notice, and the first thing that I want to point out on this machine, is the seat. This is one of my dislikes in this machine. I am not a big fan of this seat. I feel like the back of the seat needs to be a little bit higher. Once again, I'm not a small person. I'm about 6 foot 6'1", so I would definitely feel a little bit more comfortable in a higher back seat. I know John Deere and Kubota both, they have a lot higher seat, and it is way more comfortable than this seat here. This is an air ride seat, so that is a plus. And as far as, you know, the motion of the seat when operating, it's, you know, no issues there. I just think the seat is a little bit stiff, and the back of it is a little short. So those are my dislikes on this seat. This seat also has a seat warmer, and there have been a couple times in the winter early mornings that I have turned on that seat warmer and this seat warmer gets hot. It probably gets hotter than the seat warmer in my truck. So that is one thing I do like. Not many machines have a seat warmer, but what I have noticed is the very new machines, like the new John Deeres, the new Caterpillars, they're actually coming with ventilated seats. That would be fantastic. If Case could implement that into some newer generation skid steers, that would be perfect. That and a little higher back seat and a little squishier seat, I guess you would call it. Let's see, armrest. I love the armrest. I will say that, so you've got your T-handles, just like a bulldozer. Everything locks in place. So this is your travel. You can lock it in going forward, just like a bulldozer, and you can lock it in reverse. So it's almost like a cruise control, I guess you could say. If you ever ran a dozer, you know what I'm talking about. So T-handles, I love the T-handles. I thought at first, when I got the machine, that I would hate mulching and doing other stuff with the T-handles, but I have grown to love them. And every time I get in a skid steer now that has a standard joystick, almost seems like I don't know what to do with them. Anyway, going back to the armrest and the joysticks, they're all together one piece. So you've got adjustment bolts that you can move everything forward, backwards, I think left and right a little bit, but they are kind of flimsy. If you look at that, you've got a lot of weight on just one bracket holding this up. So this does seem to get a little flimsy, especially when you're tracking somewhere in some rough material, some rough ground. You do get a lot of shake in these joysticks. So if there was anything Case could do to tighten this up or make it a little more rigid, that would definitely be a huge plus. You know, most of the time you're mulching back and forth, or, you know, running the dozer blade, so you've got both hands on the controls at all times. So it's honestly not that bad. It's just the times that you're tracking back and forth to, you know, to the truck when you're done for the day, and you get a lot of movement in these joysticks. Let's hop in the cab. I'm going to fire this machine up just because it's 100 degrees outside and I would like some air rolling through here. All right, so let's look at kind of the obvious, is the screen, the information panel. I don't know how well you can see it now that it's lit up and going. Let's see. So this is definitely one thing I do like about this machine. You can customize all your text up here. So you can put business name, your name, anything on it. All your hour meter. You can actually even see fuel usage, def usage. Shows you what pattern you're in, ISO or dozer mode. RPMs, all your fuel gauges, all your temperature gauges. This machine is, or this screen is packed full of information, and I'm not going to go through everything on this video. I could spend another 30 minutes in a separate video covering everything behind this screen. But as far as the telematics, all your temperatures, everything, I mean, if you need to know anything about this machine, you can find it in this screen. So that is a big plus. Another good thing is the backup camera is built into this, so half of the screen will cut off and turn into your backup camera. I did have some issues early on with this camera. It almost was shorting out, and it would change back and forth between like a blurry screen and a blue screen. So I had some issues with that to begin with. I ended up unplugging the camera and putting some dielectric grease in the connections and plugging it back in, and that was about 4 or 5 months ago that I did that, and ever since then I haven't had any more issues with the quality of this camera. So definitely watch out for that if you get one of these machines. You got your toggle switches for dozer controls. On your joystick, you've got your thumb wheel. So when you're in ISO skid steer mode, this controls your mulching head. You can roll this up and down to put hydraulic pressure to the mulching head. In dozier control, you can use this as your blade shake, and so many different features for dozier control. You've got let's see, you got your 2-speed transmission when you're in ISO, but when you convert this to dozier control, this becomes a 16-speed transmission. So it's just like any other bulldozer. You can tune in your speed to match, the work that you're doing. So if you want to go super slow and creep, you can set that all the way down to first gear. And if you want to go wide open, you can crank that all the way up to gear 16. So when I tell you that they implemented everything from the dozier into this machine, they did it. I mean, the hydraulic controls are identical to a bulldozer. Over here you've got all the rocker switches for all your attachments, and unhooking from the dozier blade, unhooking from skid steer buckets and attachments. Reversing fan, that's a big one, especially for mulching. Temperature controls, and I will say that the air conditioning system in this machine are fantastic. There's never been a time that I've got hot in this machine or cold in this machine. So the AC system in here is fantastic. I have no complaints there. Compared to the Kubota, the AC system worked for about 1 month and then it quit. So you can imagine 110 degrees in the middle of Alabama summertime. Inside this mulcher, it was awful. So big plus to Case on the AC system. I will say that I wish they could relocate 1 or 2 of the AC vents and maybe put it somewhere up higher on either side of the 2 columns. That way you got air blowing kind of in your face directly, whereas now it's kind of blowing up from underneath you and to the side of you. So after about 5 minutes, it's no issue. It cools the machine off completely, but I would like air blowing directly in my face. So that's one thing I wish Case would do, is relocate 1 or 2 of these vents. All right, something else I mentioned earlier in the video is the visibility out of the side of this machine. I mean, you can't see completely behind that track, but I mean, let's see, right here, you can see, the top of the back side of the track. That is way more visibility than several other skid steers that I've been in. And then visibility out of the front, you can see it. A lot of people complain about this part of the door being in the way, but honestly, sitting in the seat, you guys are at head level that I'm looking at, and obviously you can see everything in front of you. Also, one of my dislikes inside the cab, I mentioned that I like running the skid steer with the T-handle joysticks. One thing I wish Case would do would be to add some kind of rubber or some kind of texture to these T-handles. Everything, or the handles are slick, it's just smooth plastic material. So after a whole day of working, I don't know, I just feel like it'd be a little bit more comfortable with either some kind of magnetic, or not magnetic, some kind of rubberized grip, or some kind of stenciled pattern, almost like the grip on a handgun, on a pistol, something texturized. I think I would like that. So that would be one thing I would recommend Case to look into. Nothing too aggressive, because you are moving back and forth with your hands, so you don't want anything to eat up your hands, but I would like a little bit more grip, a little bit more texture on these handles. Alright guys, I'm back. It is the next day. Ran out of time in the couple of videos before. Ran out of time to finish up the review on the Case Minotaur, but hopefully I can get a couple minutes this evening and get this review video finished up. I know it's probably a long video already. There's just so much to unpack from this machine. and I could probably go on for another couple hours covering, you know, everything that the Minotaur has to offer, and just my opinion on it. But we'll try to keep this as short as we can. So basically, we've reviewed everything as far as the exterior and the interior of the machine, what we don't like so far, and what we do like, what we love. And as you can tell and hear, that there is a lot of this machine that we love, and some minor things that we wish could be changed, or maybe Case could look at changing for the next generation. But for the most part, this is a fantastic machine. Let's see, all that I've really got left to touch on in this video. And once again, please comment, ask me any question you want about this machine. I'll do my best to answer it. And anyway, I want to cover some of the Dozier blade and some of the functions on that. I'm not going to make a video right now of hooking up the Dozier blade. Trying to keep this video as short as I can, but anyway, I'll kind of show you the basics. Alright, so first we will take a look at the blade itself. I got the dogs coming with me, so don't mind them. So the blade, this is a 8-foot wide blade. I think this is the same blade that they use on their 650M models, I believe. Like I mentioned, you know, several parts and components come off straight off their Bulldozer series. But as you can see, this is not your typical skid steer blade. This is an actual C-frame blade attachment. So you've got the C-frame that actually hooks and pins, couples to the underside of the Minotaur. So it hooks up to the lower frame just like any other Bulldozer connects to its blade. So that is where this thing shines when running the Dozier blade. On a typical skid steer, when you have a Dozier blade, all of that weight, all of that pressure is directly on your two lift arms, whereas this, all that push weight is being applied to the lower frame of the machine. So that is where the power and the precision, that is where this machine shines. So as you can see, it's got the universal skid steer plate, so it hooks up initially just like you would any other skid steer attachment. Once you have your pins locked in on that attachment plate, that's when you then disable your hydraulics and switch it over into Dozier mode, and then you unlock your pins for your C-frame, and then you lock them back, and it's got hydraulic pins that shoot in to the holes here in the C-frame, and that is how it locks in. And then you've got your hydraulic lines. You got two on each side that hook up. You've got two that go to your high flow side and two that go to the low flow. This is a 6-way blade, so you've got your angle left and right, and you've also got you know, up and down just like any other skid steer, and then you've got back and forth. So it operates as a true Bulldozer blade, a true 6-way Dozier blade. But as you can see, it's also got mounts or that you can mount your pillars for your GPS. The Minotaur is equipped from the factory with plug and play GPS capability. It has the computer system on it already, so all you would have to do is spend the money and buy the actual GPS unit, and it's got all the hookups, all the connections, everything ready to go on the Minotaur as it comes from the factory, which is pretty awesome. Currently I don't have plans to purchase a GPS system for the machine. Not yet anyway. I hadn't grown that much into the business. As you know, we do mostly forestry mulching, but we are starting to get into quoting a lot of house lots and house pads and several trailer pads. So I could definitely see it being helpful in the future, just saving information, you know, off of you know, different size pads, and you know, you hit the start button and the machine's doing all the work for you. So maybe later we might look into investing in that technology, but not at the moment. But it's there if we do need it. But yeah, let's walk back to the machine. I'm gonna show you guys exactly where that C-frame on the blade hooks up, and that'll be about it. All right, and as we mentioned, your quick attach plate, it hooks up just like this mulcher does, just like any other bucket or any other attachment does on the skid steer. So you hook into that first, and then those arms on the C-frame, I don't know if you can tell, but there is a pin that goes through that slot, and that is where it hooks into. So that right there is the pin that shoots out and locks that C-frame in place. So it, like I mentioned, it hooks directly into the underside of the frame of the Minotaur. So, but yeah, it's a cool, very cool machine to run for sure. I like running it. Dozer blade, bucket, mulcher. It is a very impressive machine. I can't say enough good things about it. So but yeah, it's I don't have any plans on getting rid of it anytime soon. I plan on having this machine for a long time. I think the quality that it was built with, I think mulching, it'll be fine. A lot of other machines tend to wear out within 2 to 3 years of mulching, but I think just the way this is built and designed, I don't really see that being an issue. So anyway, well, I want to take the moment to once again recognize Tidewater. They are the dealership that I purchased this machine from, just like the excavator, the Mini X that I've got. They are such a great dealership to work with. I can't thank them enough for helping me out this past year of business. Like I said, if go to their website, look and see if they've got a dealership near you. If you're looking at construction equipment or farm equipment, anything, they can make it happen for you, and you won't regret buying from them. So thank you, Tidewater. But yeah, that's the Minotaur, guys. If you got any questions on it, please feel free to let me know in the comments, and we will get any question answered for you. So thank you guys for watching.